I'd like to welcome Alison Lewis. Alison is a designer, author, and entrepreneur with 15 years of experience in design research, branding, and product innovation. She has developed branding strategies for a variety of established companies and entrepreneurs with cutting-edge new business ideas, and will dive into some big ideas, including a new form audio AI through glasses, clothing that is digitally enhanced and responds, and 3D fashion.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm on now.
Okay.
Oh. Well, it sounds absolutely fascinating, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to hear what you have in store.
That was Melina Berry. She's like, I'm on. Hi, I'm Alison. Yes, I've had this wonderful, amazing experience over the past 16 years. And I started out in fashion technology and design communication back at Parsons School of Design. I have a master's program, and I've helped a number of startups start from nothing. And they've been very big idea startups. And so I just want to give that preface. And while I'm talking, I'm going to see if it's going to let me share my screen. Let me see if it's going to let me share the screen the way I want. And let's see. Okay, I have two screens, so you might still get to see me while we're talking. Can you see me? And can you see that screen over there?
I can definitely see the screen and I can see you, but I don't know if I have a different visual on you than our attendees.
You guys are going to love this. I've totally taken a risk here. And I highly recommend, if you're going to work with really innovative brands, you take risk, because it's a lot of risk. So I started out doing a lot of different things. I have communication design and also fashion technology hardware background. And I've worked with some brands, as is not all of them, have actually gotten to finish a recent project with Boston Dynamics, who's pretty incredible, and helped them with their sales team. But some of the really new innovative stuff where you don't have a customer and like you don't know how to produce this thing, right? How do you even get started? One of them is Made in Space. Made in Space is a 3D printing company that has a 3D printer on an International Space Station, and they actually do off-world manufacturing. So they don't manufacture here on Earth. They manufacture in space. That's a pretty big idea. So I helped them develop their brand and also their beginning strategy of their business. Another one, I'm just going to go through some of these. I can't do all of this today. There's no time. But another one is called T-Shirt OS. This was a digitally enhanced T-shirt with washable, foldable LED panel that you could control with your cell phone. Bose AR, which is the cool glasses. I want to just be honest, this was like a 4-month project. They took this thing and ran. I came in and did some very interesting research. Again, there was no customer for this when this started. Nobody knew who or what's it they're designing for. So this is the stage the product was in when I first started playing with it. Now Bose frames are out, so I highly recommend it. It's an auditory experience where you can actually have like augmented reality. It's the most amazing freaking tech, and I'm wanting everybody to wear it. Open ear headphones, but it's just so well. The tech guys made it so perfectly. And then now I'm helping. I'm hoping this starts. A new company called Ohzone, and they are building 3D clothing, but not from CAD or having to use engineers. They're actually scanning it and using an algorithm to do so. And so they have like these really amazing techniques to be able to sample garments by just having the top line product. It merges that. It's just very new, and they kind of have competition, but not really. And that's where I've been playing for a while, just in this space of how the heck do you get started when there's nothing, and there's just like bare bones. This is a normal like UI UX if you're UI UX designer, if you're somebody developing an app or some sort of web presence. This is something that you're used to. You discover the business, the market, the goals. I'm not going to go into detail on this because I think I don't have a lot of time. I can't tell my time. but these are well known, like design process is understood. Like you set goals, you try to understand the brand experience, so I put discover, define it, and then you design, which is just like iterating and testing, iterating and testing and prototyping and testing over and over and over. And then you have to deliver and distribute. At the end of distribute, I also like to add review. I didn't put this on here, but you'll see in T-shirt OS, we didn't only deliver the product, but and a number of them were distributed around the world, but also at the same time, I went back afterwards and actually did a review and a bunch of like research. I'm working inside Miro. I always like to tell people what I'm working in, and this is an experiment for me to share what I do inside this space, but I work in this program so much and I really love it. And I don't know, they should pay me to be a brand ambassador, I think. Like, I just use it so much. This is going to look insane, but there's a reason why I'm showing this to you. So everything starts with, where are we? What do we need? How do I get started? And since I work with really new and sometimes unknown technologies, or there maybe it's like 3D printing is known, but like, how do you create a brand and think about 3D printing for the International Space Station? Like, why do they even need that? How does that happen? Oh my goodness, that's really embarrassing. So how does that happen? And so I kind of start with, is the company pre-funding? Are they just in the beginning stages and maybe they're self-funded? Are they in the process of funding because they may need different types of materials? Are they fully funded and operational? Like, I did a little bit of work for Google X, thanks to my friend Eugenie over there, in their moonshot factory. And, depending on where they're at, and really, like, if they have customers, do they already have an image? Who is the team? What skill sets do we have? I really approach this like an entrepreneur. I happen to be a designer by trade, but I use a lot of my, like Haas School of Business. I got a certificate there for entrepreneurship, and I've been in startups for 10 years. So I really try to take things from the ground up. We go deep, and I do have team that works with me when I need them. I hire people as needed for each project, because they usually vary so differently. One of the big questions always is, what do they want to achieve? And I can just zoom in on this, which I love about this. So, their ultimate goal, if you're doing anything, is a, repeatable, sustainable business model. Where do they need help, to do this? And how can I help them with my communication design skills to make that happen for them? And then another question I'm always asking is, do they actually need me to build a physical or digital product, or both? I really like hardware. People that know me know I like building things with my hands, and I actually got to work on some things that do that. So I tend to be a crossover physical digital type, but just finished a UI UX project with a DNA company. So that had nothing to do with physicality. And I'm really into this 3D world I'm into right now. So kind of merging the two together. There's so much that's happening. There's basically everything that tells me what to do next is all inside what I call like this discover and define phase. And then after that, it's about setting priorities. And you're going to laugh because I put my little notes here, and I realize when I get to the part of after setting priorities and starting to work in the design, it depends on who I'm with, and like everything changes. Like all of a sudden, my perfect little map does not fit a perfect little branch anymore. And I think that's important to note at this point in time. Once you've set all your priorities and you understand what really matters, and you set your goals, it's at that point how you execute it is, we need someone who can do 3D. We need someone who can do animation. They need me to do all the branding and, and initial like customer research. And then I start using the tools that I have to do that. So customers are really important, both on the business side, and everybody knows this in UX, like you have to interview your customers. And at this point in time, I feel like customer interviews and validation on the business side and design and usability, they're just so interconnected at this point that a lot of designers could cross over to be entrepreneurs and and start their own businesses, big businesses. So this is where we set priorities. So I thought it might be helpful is to just show, say one or two examples of some things of how this works. So here's T-shirt OS. I can, I can pull up a video for you. Okay, I can pull up a video for you. The very first thing that we, in a minute, but the first thing we did with T-shirt OS is we went in and met with the team. This is all, again, standard design practices. You go in, you understand what you need to do, what your goals are. We did it with these little triangles. One of the challenges we have is washability of the shirt. They don't really exist. If you look at LED t-shirts, they're kind of stiff. Well, they wanted something that felt like fabric, was soft and drapable. That does not exist. But they also wanted something that was high resolution, and they wanted something that like they could fold and send to people. And these were super high challenges because the higher the resolution, the stiffer the shirt. So there are shirts like this made, and you can see, hopefully you guys can see my little pointer here. And we just looked at what exists on the market. You can see this is really, really high density, but it's basically like wearing an iPad on your garment. And they did not want that. So we took all this information back, did a lot of research. I have just a hair of this. This is about a 9-month project, and the majority of it, I would say 2 months of it, where we thought we would be building the circuits, was actually not only building the circuits, but finding the right fabric that you could light the lights through so that you could see them, that you got the most diffusion, that you got the best quality of image from. We went through 550 fabrics, knocked it down to a few, say like 20, and then we went from there, and then we would find out the fabric would tear on top of the LEDs, so we couldn't use that one. There was just, it was probably the biggest limitation to it, and why I'm guessing a lot of people just kind of encapsulate and laminate things. But while we were doing that, we were simultaneously building all of our hardware covers. We had a hardware engineer building out and testing hardware. We had designed a number of prototypes, and we used a printer to print out where the LEDs were, and then make the prototypes out of this fabric were just where they were. So it wasn't even first made with electronics. Then of course we go to deliver the product. A lot easier than it sounds. So we broke everything up into parts. We actually delivered the app on this as well. So we developed the app. And we had to have a testing protocol. So every shirt had to be tested and had a line, like check sheet, of every single thing that was wrong. And out of, say, 40 shirts, like 10 were bad because, you know, this was very small quantity, first test run, just trying to figure it out. And they had to be fixed or fixed in some way. So there was a lot of building and designing. Then we delivered it. So the Valentine's T-shirt OS was, and is, I think is still out there, was delivered as part of a marketing campaign for Valentine's Scotch whiskey. And this is us like showing it off at their event. And then afterwards on this one, we went out and researched and did a number of questionnaires. We had 17,000 people actually sign up just of interest, even though we weren't planning to sell it. So I went and did research and found out like who the potential customer audiences for this were, to see if this was a potential new product that could go to market. I ended up the cost wasn't investable, but it was a really good example of you know, just kind of taking a little extra time and doing risk. I want to talk about so much more. This is Ohzone. I came to Ohzone, they looked like this. There was no cohesive brands. They had amazing technology hidden underneath this mannequin, and basically had to go in, and of course they work with me on this. I don't do this all by myself, but we went in and researched, and the first thing we had to figure out is where their technology fits. So this is kind of where business development in my life overlaps. So if you're going to start things from scratch as a designer, you really I found it beneficial to have a business development background so you understand the challenges that they're having, because this is before even developing who the first customer is. They were just guessing at the time, and they were making some good guesses, but it wasn't connecting. And so my objective in the company was to get them up, branded, out, and deliver their first customer, which was done in March. So that has been done. Also, to get them branded, I went through a very nice long process of developing this O for their Ohzone. You can see here all the different iterations that we went through. I do have a traditional branding background, so I like doing this part a lot myself. This is a lot of fun for me, and it's exciting. And the idea is the O has the folds, so it's like 3D. We also talked about some goals for them for technology and visuals, like what kind of 3D do we expect in the future? And it goes from very simple to very, very real. So they're at their second goal right now, very high quality pieces, and I can show that to you. And of course, as a branding person, I'm looking at them from a larger angle and thinking about right now, I've just put this together. It's the first stage of a potential branding packet, and it also applies to their website and other areas. You know, this is the basics. You put together a basic, like, this is your brand, this is how it works. And I was really excited by who's the owner, because she's Thai, and she was just so excited about the water dragon, the Thai water dragon, because it's so detail oriented and like a symbol of good. And she's so detail oriented. They are so detail oriented. And now they went from that to having a little bit more, their first website is very basic, but it's their very first website. And it's got the clothing on here, center front. You can see what's going on. The mannequin's been removed. They've used some of the ideas around that we talked about with branding. And we're actually working on their sales deck now. So it's been kind of this wild ride, and I'm super, excited about it. Why is that happening? You guys can't see this, but there's been a lot of design strategy in this. And I wanted to show you, like, starting from nothing. You do tend to start with the sticky notes, which is why I started with this platform to discuss it. I felt like this is true to life. You start with all of this information, and you have to figure out how to organize a lot of people's, where they want to go. They think they want to go in a certain direction. You've got to support usually the CEO, and oftentimes they don't even have a salesperson yet sometimes, or they don't have marketing yet. So you come in super early. And when you do that, it's really about just being as flexible as possible and have as many tools in your toolkit, and taking a lot of risk. And I only have like 30 minutes. So I was trying to leave like a tiny bit of time in case someone had a question for me, or I could point you at something you want to see, or I'm happy to chit chat all day.
We've got another 5 minutes, Alison.
Yeah, I want to leave a little time
to chit chat. If anybody has a question, please pop it in the in the chat box.
Yeah. If not, I can tell you one of the hardest things that I've had to do, because people ask me that. Designing and communication design and sitting here and doing that work and the research is super easy and fun and like motivating and flow. The biggest challenge I've always found is when working with entrepreneurs, including I used to be one, is that finding their comfort zones and how they speak takes some time. And so it takes a lot of time to gain their trust, because they don't usually speak design. And not usually, if you get lucky, you'll get somebody like obviously Boston Dynamics and Google X, like they understand design, but a lot of startup, and especially the engineers that I work with, the language that I have to use to get them excited and on board takes a long time. And usually that's the biggest hurdle for me in working with these high innovation brands is really getting them trust in a space that they're not familiar with. You know, using words that, you know, making sure that they feel good about the choices that they're making and feel like they have trust in you and what you're going to do. Well, that goes for anything, but I think it's especially true in these really high stakes, intense adaptive environments where the entire logo concept could change in a week because the entire brand pivots and starts doing something else. So.
Thank you. So we have a couple of questions here. Monish is asking, since most of the dresses have the same design in the front and back, can we just scan the front and recreate the back?
So Ohzone is, you just send us the dress and we will scan the entire thing for you. And then if you want to update it with a new material, just send us a swatch and it will be updated like that. It's scanned in a cage like environment, which is probably hard to get your mind around. If I don't have a picture of it, I'd have to go pull one up. I hope that answers the question. Because you're asking if it's scanned in. It's not scanned in flat. We're literally scanning it at the entire thing all the way around.
Wow, it's fascinating. I also have a question from Patricia, who is asking, how do you manage financially to work on projects where the market is not defined yet? Appears counterintuitive.
Financial risk. Okay. I am someone who's high risk and I take the financial risk. I have been very well and done very well. I have been paid off in shares. One of them, it took 10 years before I saw the money. Other ones, I make sure that they pay me. And, you know, at a minimum, I get shares and I get paid the amount that I need that is survivable. I think it really depends on how interested I am in the company and how, if I really want to invest in it and stay, versus a company that, you know, maybe they're hiring me for a short amount of time. So if I'm working for like Boston Dynamics, Bose, or Gulex, I mean, I'm going to charge my highest rate because that I'm going to give it, but I'm going to give it all my all, but I'm not going to end up staying there usually. Although that would be nice probably, but that would be very nice. But they usually hire me for shorter periods of time. So I use it like that. Like I use those things. And then honestly, I take risks. And I've lived a year. Last year, I lived very poor. And this year, I lived very fine. And I just save my money. And I hang out with other smart women who like to invest money and play with money. And, you know, I just take the risk. I don't know what else to say. It's not easy. I have a 4-year-old son and I raise him by myself. So if you're talking high risk, like I'm up on a like 9-10 level. You just gotta be willing to do it. You gotta be willing to do it.
Yes, so you rock. That's the answer we got back. So
it's not suffering if it's something you really want to do. As long as you have a place to live, you have food, your kids are taken care of enough, and you have some clothes. You know, like, so what? Like, do what you want to do.
Just do it. Well, on those last words, thank you so much, Alison, for your time this afternoon and for being our last speaker on our engineering track. Yes, the virtual summit is coming to a close. We're so sad, but we couldn't have been more thrilled with the results. So thank you so much to you and to all our speakers and to all our attendees. It's been absolutely like just amazing the last 3 days with some really awesome, inspiring, innovative speakers. Over 27,000 visitors that we've had just between Monday and Tuesday. So we are so very thankful to all of our community. It's been amazing. So thank you so much.